Hi there, this is Philip Roy from nziphone.com and this is the iPad. I'd like to thank Jens from toshnewzealand.com for the opportunity to spend time with this iPad this weekend. Sadly, I'm having to ship it off on Monday to the next person who's going to have a look at it as it does a tiki tour around the country. I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail of applications that are on or not on this. I'm just going to, in this video, whiz through some of them just to show you them in action. My feelings about this is, regardless of what people say, it is, in some respects, a bloody big iPod Touch. And I don't mean that to argue against those that say it's a game-changing device or that it's a new device form. What I mean is, in its form factor, it really is a big iPod Touch in terms of where the buttons are located and so on, and obviously because of the operating system it definitely has the feel of an iPod Touch. In other words, what I mean by that is there's something very familiar to it, so that you don't get the incredible wow that you did when the iPhone first came out because of that familiarity. That said, it's still pretty stunning. The interface for the applications differs on the iPad because of the extra screen real estate. So for example, if we look at something such as the Iron Man 2 trailer, you get this nice little wee graphic and a summary about the trailer before you actually move to watching the clip.
The notary's here. Front and center. I'm sorry, it's very eccentric. I want one. No.
One of the things you really notice with the iPad is how incredibly responsive it is, just how fast it is changing screen layouts and all these sort of things. If, for example, I go into the Photos application and have a look at some of my photos from when I was in San Jose, the Adobe headquarters, you can flick through very quickly, but the thing that really impresses me the most is when you zoom into an image, how quickly and easily it picks up your finger movements. It's very sensitive to those sorts of things. Things like the photo section have really nice features such as slideshows. You get a lot of these sort of, I think you'd describe them as drop-down pop-up menus in a lot of applications. Even something such as, for example, email. Here is my Massey University email system. I've hooked up to the Exchange. I can see that I've got one email there. Here is my inbox from this sort of drop-down pop-up menu. I can go and have a look at the mailboxes within Exchange as well. One of the things that has really surprised me, there's been a few people that have not been critical but said that the keypad isn't as easy to type on as you would think. I actually found it incredibly easy to type on, but I do confess I'm a two-finger typist, and so that I don't tend to lay my fingers out like a standard keyboard. So it was really easy for me, and I picked up quite a bit of speed with the layout. In terms of the weight, what I started to notice is that as I hold it out, my hands and arms start to hurt a bit. So it's heavy enough that when you would be using it on a regular basis, you would probably sit it on your knee or sit it on your lap. It would be nice if I had if it came with some sort of stand for it. It doesn't come with anything like that. But I have noticed that as I've used it more over the past 2 days, I've really been putting it on a table like this or putting it on my knee and so on, because if you're holding it, it's a bit like it's a bit like a heavy book, if you like. But that again, for what it is, it's still not that heavy, and I'm kind of contradicting myself a bit there as I say that, I know. Some of the other applications that have been revised in terms of the way they look, things such as the YouTube channel. Okay, so you can have a look at some of the different things such as what's featured. The video quality really is very impressive. I like this. This is where you get to see the video clip and you get a lot of information underneath it. I would thoroughly recommend that clip if you've not seen it on YouTube before. I've not spent a great deal of time looking at battery power. I've not had the time to test draining it. I've had no problems in using it, but I've kept it on charge most of the time. all the reports that come off the web seem to suggest that the battery power is phenomenal. What you may or may not realise, of course, is that not every application just immediately runs on an iPad. So, for example, this is the NZ iPhone and nzmac.com application, and the reason it's appearing in this shape is because I haven't yet developed it specifically for the iPad. So it's showing it iPhone size, but I can 2 times it so that it kind of looks a bit like an iPad application. You probably won't see this on the video, but you can pick up a drop in quality. The text looks slightly pixelated, so what I need to do at some point is come up with a universal application that will run on both the iPad and the iPod and iPhone. Some of the applications for it are just hilarious. This is one I actually purchased. I'm not sure which way around I meant to hold it, but it is an accordion. That wasn't too bad, really, for what I played. And of course, I guess in theory you're probably meant to point that away from yourself and impress everybody with your iPad accordion. Some of the other applications that have come out for it, this is the Guardian Eyewitness program. It's absolutely stunning. The Guardian's fairly well known for their impressive photography in the Guardian newspaper in the UK, and every day it comes up with a different photo from their newspaper. There's a great little wee video that plays at the beginning of this, just highlighting the application. The reason I'm just turning it is just to show you how quickly it does respond. I'm not sure if you can actually zoom in on these ones within the application. Another one that's fairly well known is another free one. This is called the New York Times Editor's Choice. Of course, the New York Times, oh, the Mac just crashed on me for some reason. The New York Times Editor's Choice is famously, they've changed the application to be iPad friendly. One of the things that I did notice here was that now and then when you go into some of these ads, go back to the news and then try and go into another, you suddenly get this appearing. So this is where they're making their money. They're putting adverts within the application itself. So you can skip this ad, but it's beautifully done, lovely to read. You can easily zoom in, he says, but on this one it doesn't look like it can. If I go to the technology section, obviously it's all about the Apple iPad at the moment. The slightly ironic thing about that is if you go to the New York Times itself, which again looks superb on the iPad, if I do something as simple as decide to go to their video section, which I found a moment ago, the moment I go to their video section I can't watch anything because it will say at the top of the screen that I need to install Flash, the New York Times Flash Player installation. So while some of the videos will run, some of them won't, you get these sort of errors appearing. It means that effectively while the New York Times is being cited as a site that is iPad friendly, it's also not always iPad friendly. There are some great free applications that have come out already for the iPad. I really like the sound that comes out of the iPad speakers. It's got quite a nice bit of bass to it. This is a free version of an application called Groove Maker. Okay, so you can play around with all these things like speed up the tempo and so on. So a great little wee application there. One thing you will find here is that when you go to use the App Store, because I don't have an iTunes US account, the App Store at the moment currently can't seem to complete the request, and I would assume once the iPad becomes official in New Zealand that this will change. So at the moment it's restricting you from going to the App Store on the iPad that you may have imported.